Hi, I'm Hari Sreenivasan, and I'm joined by some of the youth delegates from the Human Impacts Institute that went to COP30. First, I want to talk to Célio Monteiro José, who's from Mozambique. He's joining us from an airport on his way back home. Célio, first, I guess your overall, impressions. I mean, who were you trying to represent, and what did you feel came out of this conversation?
In this COP, I was representing young people from Mozambique, especially young people from Lusophony countries, which are countries that speak Portuguese, that are extremely underrepresented at at high level events such as COP. And I think that overall, what I can see that was taken out of this COP is that some actions were taking, like the Belém action mechanism, but there's still
Yeah.
a lot of things to go, especially when it comes to climate finance and ensuring that countries such as Mozambique are able to access funding in a more simple way. But yeah, so yeah, I think those are my key takeaways from this COP.
Sila, do you feel like when you go back to the people that you represent in Mozambique, when you speak with people, they're going to say, okay, fine, what happened? There's this big meeting. What does that mean for life here? How are we going to change uh, the ways that we interact with our environment? What should we be doing? What's your response to them?
That's a very good question, actually. I think that these big meetings and all these decisions and translating that to what happens on the field is really hard. I think for me, what I'm going to do is to tell young people, because I feel like for us in Mozambique, we don't even talk about COP. So I think the first step is educating people about it. And that's what I'm going to do. Educate young people about what is COP, why it's important that we are there, and why it's important for us to be there to make changes. I think doing that first will allow us in the next years to make more changes and ensure that whatever is decided at COP actually happens on the ground. So I think for me, this was my first cup. So I think for me, that was my goal from the beginning, understanding the process and ensuring that other young people like me understand what is cup and how we can make changes on it.
What gives you any sense of optimism that these conversations on this global scale will make changes? Because there's lots of reasons that people look at these and say, well, we've missed all these targets. There are countries that come in and out who are big polluters, who are not polluters, etc. Why do you stay optimistic? Why do you participate?
I think what keeps me optimistic is being surrounded by young people who are doing really really good job. And even though there are all of these bad results and a lot of negativity around the climate, they're still fighting, they're still implementing projects on the ground, like the projects I'm doing, and other people that I know are the young people, African youth, that are doing really good job in climate adaptation. And seeing all of their work keeps me grounded and keeps me going. It makes me understand that I'm not working on this by myself and alone, but I have other folks who are in this fight with me. So that's what keeps me optimistic and hopeful for a better future.
Sila Montero, Jose, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Also, want to turn now to Wara Ruiz Condori. She represents the Aymara people. She's joining us from Bolivia. Thank you for joining us. What was kind of your top line take? I mean, tell us about the people that you're representing, the strains that the climate is putting on your society, and what you wanted to take as a message to this conversation, and then what you got out of it.
For me, it was my third time in COP, so I am following very. I'm following the topic of indigenous peoples and youth in the COP30 and our rights. I am part of the International Indigenous Youth Forum of Climate Change that and it was founded in 2023. So we are very new right now as a indigenous youth delegation, I think, and what I am claiming for in COP30 is the respect for the indigenous rights in the negotiations. Sometimes it's kind of hard because I feel like every year we are doing like the same. I don't know, parties for usually forgot their commitments with indigenous peoples in the documents, and I think we are there for claiming our rights. So this year for me was very I was hopeful at the beginning because it's supposed to be the call of the indigenous peoples because we are in indigenous peoples land. But at the end I was like, the results are not enough still, and we have to fight more for indigenous people rights. We wanted to add the language of critical minerals in just transition documents, but it was removed at the end. And that's the main point of the lands of indigenous peoples right now. Because of just transition, many of the lands of indigenous peoples are threatened and are we are suffering extractivism. So it is still like that. It is not resolved for us. So even we, if we have this BAM and other documents approved at the end, I think we don't have enough results for indigenous peoples.
Not enough
around.
results.
Yes. So I was very sad for the results at the end, but I have heard so many recommendations from our elders. For indigenous peoples, elders are like very wisdom for us. So they said that they have been fighting for years for the UN Declaration, for example, of indigenous peoples, and they have been fighting like 23 or 25 years for that declaration. So for them, it is like we have to be stronger, we have to resist, we have to be resilient, and our elders make me hopeful in this process. But I think I am thinking right now is I don't know if we have enough time to solve that. I don't know if we are going to have 25 years for solving that. So I am hopeful, but at the same time I am worried.
So when you go back to the people in your community, the Aymara people in Bolivia, and how do you continue to inspire them to stay committed to this idea when they say, I don't know, look, I'm young, I don't know if the planet is going to be the same in 25 years as it has been today. What are you talking about? This seems very futile.
It's kind of hard, I think, as Célio said, I am sharing my experience. Also, many youth here, indigenous people, youth or indigenous, non-indigenous youth, they don't know what is happening, and my responsibility there is like share what I have been doing in the COP30 and what is going on. And even if I don't believe in the process at the end, I think it's the worst option is that I don't go there, or many of maybe my colleagues or other youth decide to not go there because they are going to decide all alone in a room, even if we are not there. I hope we could have more voice, more more decision, power on decision in the negotiations, but I don't know when it will change. I want to resist and I want to inspire with this. For us, as indigenous peoples, resilience is the, the, the major quality of nature. So for us, it's important to be resilient, and that's what I am sharing with my community.
All right. Wara, Ruiz, Condori, representing the Aymara people of Bolivia. Thank you so much for joining us.